Welcome to today's Explainer. We usually dive into a wide variety of topics here, breaking them down so they're easy to digest. But today, we're going to walk through a profoundly heavy and difficult story, the delivery of betrayal, the Tanner Horner case. It's a truly tragic story, and I want to establish right out of the gate that we'll be treating this subject with the utmost gravity and respect it deserves. There's absolutely no lightheartedness to be found in these details. So let's just get right into it. What started as a normal package delivery, I want you to just think about that for a second. Think about how many times a week a delivery truck pulls up to your driveway, right? Or how many times you find a familiar cardboard box sitting on your porch. It's an entirely ordinary, mundane part of modern life. We literally don't even think twice about it. And honestly, that everyday normality is exactly what makes this narrative so deeply, deeply unsettling. Because that totally ordinary event turned into one of the most disturbing crimes in recent U.S. history. A young girl, a missing package, and a driver who made an incomprehensible decision that ended up shocking the entire nation. This is the tragic story of Tanner Horner, and how a routine drop-off completely shattered a family and a community. Part 1. The Disappearance of Athena, Aledo, Texas, December 2023. So Aledo is a quiet town. It's the kind of peaceful place where neighbors actually know each other, and folks were just busy preparing for the upcoming holidays. It was supposed to be a season of joy, But everything in that community changed in an absolute instant when 7-year-old Athena Strand suddenly went missing. She had last been seen right at her own home. And look, when a child vanishes like this, the response is immediate and visceral. Her disappearance triggered a massive, desperate search effort. Family members, neighbors from all over the community, local law enforcement, they all banded together immediately, working around the clock to find her. But as they searched the woods and the neighborhoods, no one expected the truth to be far worse than anything they could have imagined. Part 2. A trusted delivery driver, behind the scenes. While search parties were frantically looking for Athena, time was absolutely critical. But what they didn't know in those very first few hours was that the center of this case wasn't some stranger lurking in the woods. It was a delivery driver, a professional entrusted to bring packages safely to the doorsteps of our homes. And I really want to emphasize that word, entrusted. There's this inherent everyday trust we place in these professionals. We give them access to our gated communities, our driveways, our front porches. We don't view them as threats, right? We view them as a helpful service. And that baseline assumption of safety is absolutely crucial to understanding the profound betrayal that was about to occur. And the person entrusted with that access on this particular day was a man named Tanner Horner. Horner was working as a contract delivery driver for FedEx. According to the investigation reports, he had arrived in that specific area on the very day Athena disappeared for one simple, routine reason: to drop off a package. He was there in an official capacity, wearing the uniform of a highly trusted service. But instead of simply completing his job and leaving, something went terribly wrong. Investigators later revealed the harrowing timeline. You see, Horner didn't just drop the package and drive away. He actually made contact with 7-year-old Athena, and what followed that interaction was a horrifying act that ultimately led to her death. This wasn't just a crime. It was a betrayal of trust. Just let that sink in for a second. The details that emerged from this encounter were so deeply disturbing that they shocked even seasoned, highly experienced investigators, people who deal with crime every single day. It completely shattered that illusion of safety we all feel when a delivery truck pulls up to our homes. Part 3. Investigation and tragic discovery. Time is critical. In cases involving missing children, the window for a safe recovery is heartbreakingly small. Law enforcement recognized this immediately and shifted into a rapid procedural response, literally racing against the clock. Look at how incredibly fast this investigation moved. First, Athena goes missing. Within hours, that massive community and police search effort kicks off. But behind the scenes, digital and physical evidence quickly points in a very specific direction. Just hours later, Horner is identified as a primary suspect. Law enforcement moves swiftly to track him down and arrest him, and during questioning, the final devastating piece fell into place. Horner confessed. The sheer speed of this timeline is a testament to the urgency of the authorities, but it ended in the way everyone feared most. Armed with Horner's confession, authorities were sadly able to locate Athena's body. It brought a swift but incredibly heartbreaking end to the desperate search. The tight-knit community of Alito was just left reeling in absolute shock. Parents suddenly found themselves questioning the basic safety of their own front yards. Neighbors struggled to comprehend how a tragedy like this could arrive right at their doorsteps in such a normally quiet town. Part 4. Aftermath and Systemic Changes. Seeking Accountability. Because Horner was a contract driver for a major corporation, this tragedy quickly moved way beyond just a local police matter. It moved right into the realm of corporate responsibility. FedEx immediately terminated its relationship with Horner's contractor company. But severing that contract, that wasn't the end of the discussion, not even close. This specific case triggered critical, nationwide conversations. People across the country started demanding answers about three main things. First, background checks. Just how deep do they really go? Second, contractor hiring practices. When major shipping companies outsource their routes to third-party contractors, who is actually behind the wheel? And finally, safety protocols for delivery drivers, like what systems are really in place to ensure that the people coming to our homes are heavily vetted and monitored. While these massive systemic debates were raging in the news, Athena's family was forced to navigate an unimaginable, deeply personal loss. But in the midst of that profound darkness, there was a glimmer of humanity. They received an overwhelming outpouring of support from across the entire country. People who had never even met Athena were deeply touched by her story and rallied to support her family, showing that community really does extend far beyond just city limits. Part 5. The Impact and Legacy. Shaking a Nation's Trust. What happened in Alito, Texas did not just affect one family. And it didn't just affect one town. It was an isolated tragedy that rippled outward, fundamentally shaking an entire nation's sense of security. It leaves us asking, how do we ensure safety in everyday services? Think about it. We rely on deliveries for food, groceries, medicine, gifts. Our whole economy is built on things being brought directly to us. So how do we close the hidden vulnerabilities in these systems without shutting down the convenience we literally all rely on? It forces us to ask another, much deeper question. Can trust be taken for granted anymore? For decades, seeing the uniform of a mail carrier or a delivery driver meant automatic safety. This case forces us to ask if that baseline trust in strangers who come onto our property has been permanently altered. Are we now forced to view every unexpected arrival with suspicion? But above all, this case leaves us with one incredibly critical challenge. How do we protect the most vulnerable? Athena was just 7 years old, just playing at her own home. She represents the absolute most vulnerable among us. Safeguarding children in a world that is inherently unpredictable and where threats can arrive disguised as completely routine is a challenge that requires constant vigilance from parents, from communities, and absolutely from the corporations that serve them. This story of Tanner Horner is a grim reminder that even the most ordinary moments can take unexpected and deeply tragic turns. As the legal processes surrounding this case continue to unfold, one thing remains absolutely clear. Athena Strand's story will not be forgotten. Her memory continues to be a powerful force, inspiring ongoing calls for justice, accountability, and the systemic change needed to ensure that our front doors remain safe. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the important questions and stay safe out there.